Hello, everybody. Welcome to Julie's Unknown podcast. I am very excited for the guest I have here today. I love her energy. I found her through a online program that we both did together, and we hopped on a coffee chat as I usually do with all my podcast guests is coffee chat before to get everybody's like vibe and see like what conversations we're going to talk about. And I just loved her energy right away. I just think she's absolutely sweet. And we are here to talk about a conversation that I love talking about, and it is all about spiritual journeys. So today with me, I have Brenda Brummond. Oh my God, Dr. Brenda Brummond, and she is a soul success coach for women in business. Hello, Brenda, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for having me, and hello to all your listeners.
Yeah, would you explain to the audience a little bit more of what it is exactly a soul success coach?
Yeah, it is a mouthful. And whenever you have two S's in a row, I tell you, I even soul success coach, it's not the easiest to say. So, soul success coach to me is a coach who comes alongside women in business. And it's women in business who value being incredibly successful in the way they show up in the world and the way they are here to offer their services or their products to the world. So, money is important, unapologetic success is important to them, but they also value being really rooted and grounded in who they are. They love personal development. So, the soul part of that label is that they want to grow, they want to evolve. These women want to be, the greatest version of the grandest vision of themselves. They love love, they love their relationships, and success is all a part of all of that as an incredible human being here having this crazy experience of this journey through life.
I love that. Oh, that is so good. That is definitely my jam. Combining the success and these, self-development journey. I think those two just go hand in hand so well and so importantly. And I think that is what more and more entrepreneurs are realizing. I think it's not just the metrics, it's not just the things that you need to do to get to where you're at. It's a combination. It's the inner work behind the scenes. And then you blend that in. For myself, I realized that when I actually dove into my spiritual journey, because before that, I've done my coaching certificate back in 2017. And at that time, it was very much like, okay, so I did this certificate. Here are the steps on how to get clients. Here are the steps on how to be a coach. Okay, get the website, get the Instagram, do all these things. And I just felt like I kept running into a wall and I didn't understand why. And then
Yeah.
it all started with me with doing this manifestation course. And I didn't understand at that time what manifestation was. I was like, wait, I can put something out into the world and it can happen. And I just didn't understand that concept. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this manifestation course and see what happens. And then just doing that. And honestly, like, what did I put for that manifestation? Is I wanted to make a six-figure business and I wanted to meet like the man of my dreams. And none of those things happened like at that time. It was
Sure.
literally like, no, here, we're going to put you on a spiritual journey instead.
Yes, that sounds about right.
And then I realized, then I went into the deep inner work. And so I want to know, what is your story? How did you come across into a spirituality and spiritual journey?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like my spiritual journey started when I was a little kid. I was very aware. I watched people, I watched why things happen the way they did around us. And I was just so curious all the time. I think my parents were probably not ready to have me ask the questions I was asking them. They were just young parents trying to figure out life, young parents of six kids. And so I grew up really poor, second oldest of six kids in rural South Dakota. My mom and dad were trying to be farmers. They ended up having all of their animals get sick. There was an illness that came into our farm that wiped them out. So my mom and dad ended up going through a really terrible financial crisis and lost everything. And I observed that. I observed the feeling in my dad of what that felt like when, the bank came to take his equipment away. And I didn't understand really. I started labeling things like we all do as little kids, not knowing that we're labeling or signing these sacred contracts of who we are. And I started signing this contract of, we're not good enough. Something's wrong with us. What did our family do wrong? What did we do wrong? So that sort of, was my childhood, not understanding why we were going through such tough financial situations. And then, my parents dealt with a lot of their pain with drinking, partying with their family on weekends. And so I felt invisible, and I felt like, something was wrong with me then, that, my family was different. I wanted to be the storybook, Leave It to Cleaver family where like the dad worked and the mom stayed home and took care of the kids, and, everything felt really peaceful. And ours was just different. My family were farmers. They didn't hug us or tell us, I love you. I knew, I think deep down they loved us, but they were just trying to survive. And so that was kind of the beginning of my journey, with understanding and labeling myself as this sort of broken individual right away at the beginning. And then I remember experiencing death when my first grandparent died. And I remember seeing, as our family, one of the things my mom and dad always did in the middle of, no matter what we were going through, is they always took us to church on Sunday morning. We were Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic. And I remember when my grandpa died when I was, I think 12, 13. And I remember when they were lowering the casket in the ground, the whole experience was like, what in the heck is going on here? And I remember watching that casket get lowered, and I thought, this world isn't real. Like, this isn't real, because I just talked to my grandpa not too long before then, and now he's in a box and being lowered into the dirt. And I thought, what is going on here? And so, yeah, through that, I just started asking more and more questions. And then in my world of trying to figure this life out, I pendulum swinged into trying to be perfect in all of the ways, because I was looking for happiness in how this world taught us to be perfect. Like, you work hard, you become successful. We moved to a bigger town after that phase in my life, and I got bullied in middle school, and I felt like girls didn't like me. So I signed the sacred contract that I'm not enough for girls. So I stayed away from girls, met my boyfriend in 8th grade, married in college, had our daughter Kenzie a year after that, ended up growing up to be two different people, divorced a year and a half after that. But I'm like, I'm going to be successful. So I wanted to become a doctor. And so I thought that would make me happy. And yeah, it was just like this storyline of, who is Brenda? How can she be successful? But yet I questioned everything in this world. Yet how could I be perfect? I was trying to succeed in this world, but I had an inner yearning of, what in the hell is going on here? And why are some people really happy? Other people struggle. Why is it some people feel like they're in this constant identity crisis, and then other people are just like living the dream? And, why is money a struggle for some and not for others? And so, yeah, it just kind of put me on this fast forward personal development. And then when I path, and then when I hit rock bottom, I met my best friend in chiropractic school, who later became my fiance. So I was a single mom in grad school, and then met my soon to be husband after that. And we went on a journey together. We were both personal development, like addicts, self-growth. He studied religions. I was curious about life. I followed along in that path. We were just asking life's big questions, who am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And I got into fitness and bodybuilding with him. And we went down this path of just kind of our own struggles individually. I found out he had been cheating on me. We were both competing in competitions. He ended up using steroids. I didn't do that, but we got into party drugs, and that just, like, our lives really went in two different directions. And then I found out about the cheating, and this guy was like my best friend who I thought we were going to just do life together forever. And that was my biggest rock bottom where I thought, okay, now Brenda, you really don't know who you are. Like my self-esteem was so zero by that point, like -0, that I was deathly afraid to stay in the relationship because obviously I'm being cheated on, but I was even more afraid to leave because our everything was tied together, our money, our lives, our business, and I numbed myself. That's when I got addicted to pain medication and numbed myself because I felt like I was damned if I did and damned if I didn't. And so that led me deeper into my spiritual journey. So that was a catalyst. And I ended up meeting someone new. Dennis, when he knew I wasn't coming back to the relationship, he had a overdose and a near-death experience, and that like just shook his world. And he saw our whole future and came back to me and was like, oh my gosh, now I know what's going on. I know what life's all about. He in his journey, he had this incredible near-death experience where this voice came in and shared like all kinds of future predictions with him, explained why he was going through this terrible life experience, and said, I'm going to give you a second chance, but you need to start teaching people what you're learning, that there's two voices, there's two thought systems going on at all times inside everyone. One will take you down a road to fear and a loss and alone, and one will take you down a road of truth and love. And whichever way you decide is whichever experience you'll have here. You know, at this point, when he woke me up with a phone call at 4 in the morning after that experience, I couldn't trust him. I didn't believe in what he said. I thought, my gosh, you're the guy that's been cheating on me. I can't take this anymore. I don't know what to do with you anymore. And I was just trying to figure out my own life. And slowly but surely, he went back to his parents that weekend, got clean off of everything. I proceeded down my path, got clean of everything just on my own. And we started talking. Dennis started saying things that I knew was not the Dennis that I had known up to that point. And yeah, it was little by little, piece by piece. I found actually A Course in Miracles. That was a huge shift in changing of the tides in our lives when we found that book. And it was a deep dive into what message am I supposed to get from this world? How am I supposed to grow and learn and evolve? And then I just started helping other people do it the same way. My patients would come into the clinic and I would adjust them and they would talk to me about their struggles. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, can I share with you what I've learned? And then they started requesting that I would see them outside of the appointment. They said, could you just, maybe spend some time with me outside of the appointment? I'd pay you for your time and we could do this work. And so my coaching business was born that way about 18 years ago. And yeah, it's just grown and evolved, and who I've helped has grown and evolved. And yeah, so I love marrying the deep, deep, deep spiritual wisdom that I understand in this world and of A Course in Miracles with powerful mindset work and what we all crave here, which is a really successful, fulfilled life full of love and joy and expansion in all ways. And so it's kind of like marrying wisdom with the practical. And that's the method that I use with my clients today that has helped me transform out of that. Dennis and I ended up having 4 children right in a row after we were able to start understanding each other and our journeys fused again. And yeah, it's been an incredible journey ever since. Lots of ups and downs, but it's been really beautiful.
Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story. And what I did appreciate about the way you shared this story, and this is like when the first thing coming up is you went back and you're like, no, my spiritual journey started when I was young and all the stories I told myself at that age. And just because of the way I shared it initially, I was like, oh, like I was just trying to grow my coaching business. And then, oh, it happened. But actually, no, it did start also when I was young with stories I told myself with certain situations that happened when I was young. And so I love that you shared that. I love that you brought us back because those stories that happened that we created for ourselves, like to protect ourselves at that time, right? It's our little like our, it's little Brenda, little Julie, like trying to make sense of the world, trying to understand what's happening, and not having the full comprehension of life. So at that moment, we say, okay, this is the story, like that, like these types of people are bad, or I am not good enough, or I can't do this. And it could be something as, like those big moments in your life where you shared about, your parents being farmers and everything they went through. And it can be something, major happening in that aspect. But I also love to share that sometimes it is the smallest pieces that also have the largest ripple effect. So
Yeah.
I've heard this many times, and I'm sure you have as well. I'm bad at math. How many times have you heard a lot of people say that? Are they bad at math? Maybe, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe there was a teacher that didn't explain it in the way they would understand it.
Totally. Yes.
But because of this moment in time that they were young, they didn't understand. They were in a classroom and they failed, or they just did really bad. Parents were upset. Oh, you're not good at this. Okay, well, I'm not good at this. Okay, well, I'm bad at math. So I guess I won't do any career relating to math, and then completely shutting off that part.
Right.
And so this is like, so for those of you who are listening, it's not just when things ripple out and things become big, and fast forward to today's life, it's not just the big moments, it's also the little moments. And I love that, Brenda, you shared like the story with so many different pieces to it of being like, well, you were bullied. And then you're like, well, I don't want to be friends with girls.
Yeah.
And then and then that probably created a big ripple effect as well.
Huge.
And so there are so many layers in a spiritual journey, so many layers in self-development. And it's not just as simple as what you are feeling today.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is to go back and give yourself a little bit of love for that version of you and understand what was happening then and how did that bring it to today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like even that part, like being bullied by girls. And I, came up with this story, labeled myself that I must be different. I must be weird. Something's wrong with me because why would these girls act this way? I literally, it made me afraid of girl friendships until just a few years ago, like probably 8 years ago when I joined my first major coaching program and we got to travel around the world with the group of girls in that program. And I was like, terrified. Again, I was being put in a situation with a bunch of girls, but we were all there working on ourselves, working on our businesses, and it became this beautiful relationship building that we were all on the same page. And it was a huge shift in me feeling like, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like to be, on the same page with a group of women who are interested in growth and personal development as much as I am. But up until then, yeah, I had avoided girl relationships because I just labeled myself that as someone different.
Yeah, yeah, and that's powerful. And I can relate to that in another lens where for myself, I had many friendships that came and went throughout my
Mm.
life. And there was this story that I told myself that, people just tend to leave in my life. Like nobody actually like stays. And it's that fear of abandonment. And it's still a healing part, and it's just getting better. But I had to shift that because I was struggling in not only now finding new friends, and I'm trying to, like meet people that I can connect with and have conscious relationships and like much deeper friendships.
Yeah.
And also in networking events, I found like when I would go to networking groups and network events, like there was always just a little block and I couldn't figure out why. Like it's like, well, why can I not make friends? And why am I not, like meeting like, the entrepreneur woman that, feel good. And it just felt like this block until I realized I was like, oh, it's my own fear of abandonment because for so long since I was in elementary school, I had many friends like come and go and various different reasons, not all the same reasons, but there was just they came in my life and they left. And so
Hmm.
I thought that was going to I created that story that they're just not going to stay. And
Yeah.
so the minute I recognized that, and I was like, okay, you know what? I understand. It's not necessarily true. And I'm open and willing to shift this. And I'm not kidding you. In the past week, I went into two wonderful connecting networking calls. And one of them in particular, I never felt so seen, held.
Mm.
And it was beautiful. And I opened myself to that. But had I not been aware of it, and I think that is like the key is the awareness, and I think that is what brings you into like that spiritual journey is having that awareness of yourself and be like, oh, okay, this is what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's something there about I love the word awareness because to me, even with my clients, I'll talk about that a lot as that is part of the awakening process. On one end of the spectrum, it feels like we're sort of numb and playing the roles and walking around here in Groundhog's Day, getting up, doing the same thing over and over again. And, that's like my most freaky idea of going through life is just like as this robot and repeating day after day. But having awareness, that in and of itself is one of the most emotionally intelligent things you can do for yourself. And then another level of that's helped me, which I think is exactly what you were doing there, is holding both of your selves in that experience, meaning, that hot, messy human Julie, who is just, we have our triggers and we are emotional and we have things that pull us up and pull us down in this world. And then yet you have your beautiful divinity that is whole, perfect, and complete, that you have your place, you have your mission, you have your purpose in this life, and being able to hold both of those and see how you can kind of lean back into one and into the other. And neither is wrong. Neither is bad. They're both just part of who you are. And it's just like balancing and, leaning into one versus the other and getting to know where you sit in the middle of it all is, I think, where our joy and our peace lies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. And with that awareness piece that you brought, like that was at one point my life also. And that was my life in my 20s. And up until like it started a little bit with the coaching certification. I think that is like kind of similar with you, like just that like self-development, that curiosity of questioning things and being, is this it? Is this life? What is life? And what am I here to do? Because before that coaching certificate, it was corporate ladder,
Mm.
9 to 5. But there was no like, I got I didn't get the dream job. I got the dream company that I worked for in corporate. And the job it was okay. It was whatever. I did enjoy working for the company, but then when it came down to the actual job of it, I was like, this is not fulfilling. And it took doing that, getting curious about the coaching world, getting curious about self-development. And it was just that small thing of like, wait, what do I want to do? What do I want to do?
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that that's where it kind of really stems from it. And I think that with life, we get so caught up with everything else, if that makes sense. Get
Yeah.
caught up in the bills, in, getting the job that pays for the bills, in supporting the family, in being there for our friends, in being there for our partner. get caught up in all of that so
Right.
easily, because
Yeah.
that's all until you get to that place where you get curious. That's all you know.
That's all you know. You know, that is sort of the amnesia or the robotic part of us that just, thinks it's doing what it's supposed to do. And I've noticed that so much because I primarily work with women. For women to awaken out of that and for us to ask for what we desire, to us it feels like, oh my gosh, who am I worthy of doing that? Is that okay? Like, can I really ask for what I really want in this world? And yeah, while you're living the roles and just being and doing the role, there's so much more of you that is undiscovered, untapped into, unexplored. And I think a lot of us, especially on this spiritual journey, it happens. The spiritual journey happens, the awakening happens when there's a level of dissatisfaction that we feel that we can't, nothing here can really satisfy it. Not a certain amount of money, not a certain relationship, even not a certain thing that we do or a house or a car anymore. It's something deeper, and it's a longing I think we all have. And yeah, that is the calling. That is the longing to understand, who am I here? What's my purpose? Where do I look? Why does it matter? And how does that look? And so, yeah, that's the awakening, and the roles will never satisfy it. And I always share with my women in business that as they're doing this personal development work and this taking this deep dive into their own spiritual journey in business and in life, it's who they become that enlivens and that fuels and that ignites the fire of being that mom that they crave, and being that woman in business and having this incredible home. But it doesn't work the other way around, the way the world teaches it, the way I presumed it was supposed to be growing up, where it's like, oh wow, you make all this money and you get the house and the car and the guy and you have the kids and that will make you happy. And it's like, oh gosh, no. Like, that paradigm gets flipped upside down. And yeah, go do all that. Like, I felt like I did a lot of versions of that, and I was left looking around thinking, there's something else. What is it? There's something else here I'm supposed to be learning, getting, understanding. But
Yeah.
that something else is everything. It's you.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the same with me. I'm like, there's got to be something more than just this. And then it was interesting because when I first did the coaching program, at that time it was set goals. Set
Mm-hmm.
goals, get the steps that it takes for you to accomplish said goal. And there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that. But I realized after that it wasn't so much about the goals and accomplishment of the goals. You can keep accomplishing goals, but if there's that thing inside you, that thing, that emptiness, it's always going to be there. You can accomplish all your goals in life, and then you'll just keep chasing the next goal, keep chasing the next thing. And then what, when you have it all, how do you feel then? That was where the spiritual journey kicked in, because it was all of a sudden like, oh no, I want to feel good. I want to feel good about myself. I want to feel good when I speak my truth. I want to feel good when I set a boundary. I want to feel like everything else that comes in is like an add-on. It's a plus.
Yeah. Bonus. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
the end. It's not like, oh, because I think for the longest time in my coaching business, I was like, I just like, I want to have clients. I want to have long-term clients. And that was like just something because I associated the clients with success, with making it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, like I know I'm good at what I do. And I'll just keep showing up in whatever space and capacity is meant for me in this moment in time. And whoever's meant to find me will find me. And I know that if I can just hold that space and be there for that one person or those five people, like that's enough, because I know that I'm here to do big things. And I know that I feel good about what I'm sharing. I feel good about how I'm holding the space, even if I'm not sharing anything and I'm just being there.
Yeah. Yeah. I love to remind clients of that all the time, that they are the single point awareness. Like they are the vortex, and everything in their world comes through them. So knowing that, it's like, oh my gosh, well, then this single point awareness, this zero sum, this vortex point that of me, of life, of it all comes through me. So then it matters who and what the me is, and how I am, and who I show up in the world to be then. And then everything else can be just that extra bonus add on. This is amazing. Oh my gosh. And it's not, then you're no longer in what feels like a barter with the universe. Like, okay, if I get this, then I'm going to be that. And I've done that so much in my life, and I still do. I'm sure I'm still in my own ways, gambling and bartering, but I know it's not the way it's to be done. So it's like this, on this evolution called you, it's like, okay, what can, like some of my women in business right now are breaking into, 8, 9 figures in revenue in their business. And it's like, what does that feel like? Who are you as that is happening? I'm way more interested in them and who they are and who they're becoming and what they're overcoming on that journey than the end goal. Then they're like, okay, I hit 8 figures in revenue, 9 figures, 10 figures in revenue this year. It's like, tell me about you and how you feel in that. What does that look like? Who is she? And that is so much more fun, so much more exciting, so much more juicy to talk about. But you get to have both. And that's what I love. I remember a talk my husband and I gave. It was just this personal development talk years and years ago. And we were talking about things like, this girl was talking about this Louis Vuitton bag and how much she loved it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love some of that too. But I don't want to just walk down the street with my amazing Louis Vuitton bag or my Chanel loafers or my whatever and feel like there's something missing inside. And I said to her, what if you could feel like you're growing and evolving into this incredible human, and that's the journey you're on, and you've got an incredible bag on your shoulder, and you have shoes that you love from a designer that has this incredible vision that you love to align with? Like, what if you get to have all of that, but it doesn't have to be at the expense of your own growth? Because then that would be the issue, is having the thing mean more to you, the bag, the shoes, the clothes, whatever, than you meaning more to you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think what is coming up for me when you were talking about all that is like, we do, as humans, we love hearing the story. We love hearing people's story. We love understanding people and how do they get from that point to this point? Like, how are they handling conflict? How are they becoming who they are becoming? And I know for myself, like when I follow other leaders, other entrepreneurs, other coaches, yes, it's great when, they're selling XYZ, or whatever it is they're selling. They could be selling that mug or it could be that program, whichever one it is. But 9 out of 10, the times I tend to buy are the times where there's the stories there.
Yeah.
There was these bracelets and they were I don't know if the company's still around, but this was a while ago, and they had these bracelets that were like just mala beads bracelets.
Mhm.
Nothing special about them. They were beautiful, but nothing special. But each bracelet had a story.
Love that.
And I was like, oh, I want to buy these bracelets because I love the story behind it. Like one
Yes.
about the woman who's the traveler, another one was about the woman who is like the go-getter, and there was like different themes, and like it inspired. And so you're wearing this bracelet and you're like, I'm like, like so I think I bought one which was like the adventurer, the traveler, and I was like, that's me. And I bought this bracelet, but when you look at it, it's just a bracelet.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with investing in programs and courses. It's hearing the story of, how like, how is this person living the life they're living? And they're like, well, here's the work I've done on myself. And here's the crappy moments I went through. And here's what I did to handle it. And even the messy handle it. Like I like the messy handle it too, because it's like
Me too.
I am like, like yes, we're in this self-development world, and don't get me wrong, I love it. And I love it when people are like, oh, like I got triggered and here's how I handled it so beautifully. And I'm gonna show you the how you can handle it as beautifully. And it's like, yes, that's good. But
Hmm.
life is messy. And sometimes you get triggered and you don't handle it beautifully. And share the
No.
feedback and tell me
Yeah.
what you did after that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I so love that so much because I have to remind women and myself all the time because I can be in, well, Sunday, like today is Wednesday, the recording of this. On Sunday, I couldn't fight my way out of a wet paper bag. I was deep in a dark night of the soul. I felt like, oh my gosh, I feel hopeless, worthless, like nobody wants to hear anything from me today. Like it's just, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. My husband was like, "Oh, you're having a day." And I'm like, "Yeah, we've really worked in our relationship of being able to give each other space and knowing when, like, okay, is there anything I can do? No, just giving my space. I need to do this." And I have noticed when I share with my clients those days and those times, it adds a whole nother level of them accepting that hot, messy humanity that lives within all of us. And that I think we're meant to share those days just as much as we're meant to share like the days, like, oh, I broke through my income barrier today, or like, I really nailed this speaking engagement today. Or to me, I feel like I come to all of those with like how I came to this call today, which I said, well, I'm like, feel like I'm sliding into first base with you today. I woke up and was trying to manage things, and I've got 5 kids, and I've got one at home that wasn't feeling well. And then I'm on my way. I have my granddaughter Harper today. So I went to actually mass with my kids that go to Catholic school. And then I brought my granddaughter, and then I had to drop her off at my husband's work to get home for this interview. And then the school calls, my 10th grader's like not feeling well. And so he needs to get picked up. And I'm messaging Julie and I'm like, hey, I can get home in 15 minutes and do this, or I can reschedule. And then picking him up, and she's like, nope, 15 minutes works. Come home and like slide into first base. And this is what it looks like, a day in the life of an entrepreneur. No matter what level of success you have, it's messy, it's out of order sometimes, it's chaotic. There's beautiful moments. There's like crescendos of, oh my gosh, like I had this incredible download during church this morning of, if we really can fully allow our innocence and our feeling of safety to come into the core of our being, how much love we can connect with in that moment. And I feel that. And then I feel the stress of like, Julie, I can't make it on time today. And it's like, that's who we are. That's the journey. That's life. That's business.
It's literally duality. It's duality like all the time. And I think it was just
All the
like
time.
even all the time. Like it was, and I remember, so how I mentioned earlier, I was on one of this connection call. And within that connection call, it was, I think, an hour and a half to 2 hours because there was a few of us sharing. And I literally went from like, this is exciting, this is amazing, to like, I'm crying, to like, oh, I feel for you, to oh, I'm up and high again. And it was just like all the emotions, but that is life. And you get to hold it all and you get
Yeah.
to be in it and experience it. And even, I think it was 2 weeks ago where I was, upset, and my partner was like, well, what's going on? And, he's like, did I do something wrong? I was like, no, 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 no. And I shared with him and I was like, I have no friends. And it was like my inner child just, and it was just, that was it. It was like nothing to it. I just had to hold myself in that sadness in that moment, and
Yeah.
knowing that it was just a moment and it was going to pass, and that, life is, like things in life are temporary, nothing's forever, and that things will unfold. But then it was like after that, the week later, it was like, oh my God, 2 connection calls and like meeting new people and everything. And it was just like almost like a flip.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Go ahead.
yes, and it's just you don't like that is not something I was able to foresee, but I allowed myself to hold in all that duality and to hold the low as well as the high that happened the following week.
Yeah. And I think that was the entry point. Like to be in humility, I've learned is one of my greatest teachers here to be so humble in that moment with your boyfriend to say, I don't have any friends. I feel like that is the entry point for what's next to come for each of us. If we can get really humble in that moment of, my bank account is negative right now. I don't have any friends. I'm scared of this diagnosis I just got. Or, I'm deathly afraid. I feel like I'm called to speak, but I'm deathly afraid to get on stage. I'm scared. In those moments, those to me are like sacred portals that will allow the universe to come in and support you in that. To me, it's like saying, okay, Julie, Brenda, don't know everything. And to the extent I don't know everything, and to the extent I feel like in this moment I know nothing, you give space for the universe to come in and say, oh, okay, great. Finally, there's room for me to come in here and let me show you something new. And here comes a couple of incredible friendships. I've had for years, I had to my oldest daughter, Kenzie. So, just a few years ago when she was going through her teens, she used to kind of laugh once in a while and make fun of me, like, oh yeah, well, mom can't really call her friends up because she doesn't really have friends. She noticed I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to meet my friends for dinner tonight, or, oh, I just got off the phone with my friend. I didn't really have a lot of girlfriends even back then. And so I had to say, yeah, I really don't have a lot of friends. And I had to be humble in that. And now I have like women friendships around me that I so value and I so love, but I'm ready for those friendships too. And I know more of who I am in those friendships, where before I didn't. And I would have been just the yes person. Yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll go there. Yes, I'll do that in all of the ways because I didn't know who I was at all. And I still am growing in that. And I think I always will grow in that. But I loved how in that humility with your boyfriend, a miracle came right after, which that's what A Course in Miracles says. A miracle is a shift in your perception. When you change the way you see the world, the way you see yourself, the world will change as a reflection for you. When you change the way you look at things, that offers the universe to come in and show you a new perspective. And that's the miracle.
Yeah. And I love that. And I've also used the universe show it to me differently. How can I see this differently?
Yep.
Like, especially in moments where I know there's another way to see it, but I don't know what that other way is. I love to like kind of bring that in. Like, give me an example on how I can like see a different version of this, a different perception, because I feel like I'm in the muck and all I'm seeing is
Yeah.
nothing. And so that's kind of a way. And as you said, you're giving the space for the universe to come in, right? If you're like, no, this is the way it is, this is how it's always going to be, black and white, that's it. And then, the universe is like, yeah, but I got this like amazing thing to show you. And you're like, nope, it ain't happening.
Totally, totally. Even this morning, at church, because I love all the things. We've got our kids at Catholic church. I go to yoga, I pray, I meditate. I've got like Buddhist statues around. I'm like, bring it all. Surround me with all of it. I have no judgment to any of it. Like whatever, and whoever's here to help me, like I just come. I'm ready for all of you. But yeah, it says in A Course in Miracles, and that's when you come to Mass and you kneel. It's like you're humbling yourself to say, okay, I come with an open mind today. That's almost always the way I start my prayer at Mass when I kneel is I say, okay, I'm here, Christ, God, universe, with an open mind, empty hands, an open heart. show me, share with me what is next. What am I doing? Can I do something different? I just love that. It just feels so good to me to say I don't know everything. I have ideas, but I like what am I here to learn, to get to know, to understand, to bring forth, to serve.
And even that smallest, like, I don't know, and everything is just powerful on its own to get to that place. And there's one thing of saying it, but there's one thing of saying it and feeling it.
100%.
And I think the minute you feel that, it's the world just shifts around you. He's like this. It's like
Yep.
I can't even like fully explain into words how much it just shifts. The minute you feel, you really look in within yourself and you're like, oh crap, I know jack shit.
Yep.
Just watch the world just flip on its dime. And you're like, whoa, what just happened out there?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because it's getting to that point is like getting to another level of awareness.
Yeah. To me, it's the level of awareness where you're dissolving the little s self and you're allowing yourself to blend into the capital S self in you, into the capital U universe, where you're willing to say, I'm open and I'm available, but allow yourself to be that portal, that space for what's meant to come through for you. And that's where I've always, I used to struggle a lot with manifestation of like, wait, this is what I want versus A Course in Miracles says you actually don't even need to ask for what you want. Ask for what the universe wants for you because it's going to blow whatever you think you want out of the water. And that's been like a whole new level of understanding because I even thought, like, even at church this morning, I guess I say it that way because it's, we're quiet and we're reflective. I was thinking, Brenda, what do you think you want for yourself? And even as much as I can think, I want to break into 7 figures in business, 8 figures. And then I always have this like little tap on my shoulder and say, and it's almost like the universe saying, oh, just that? Or, oh, what if there's more? And I think no matter what I could say, the universe has way more to give to me. And I think, whoa, isn't that freaking incredible that that's possible?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is that in our lives, we only have examples of what we've gone through, what the people near us, like that we follow on social media, the people that we're friends with, our friends and family, what they've gone through, like the things that they've experienced, what is possible is just based on whatever else someone's achieved that we've seen.
Yeah.
But we don't know what else there is. And how many times have you heard, like, especially there's like certain like entrepreneurs who are like, I would have never even thought this would have been a reality of mine. It's because there is the thing that's available for you that the universe wants to give you that you don't even know about. You don't even know it actually exists. Like it's
Yeah.
something you've never physically seen happen.
Yes.
Why not allow yourself to open up to it? And I love how you brought in with what the Course in Miracles says about, what does the universe want for you? Like that is like, that's a huge, like for me, it just kind of did a click hearing that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, because I actually stopped manifesting, like writing
Hmm.
things down and manifesting to the universe. I used to do it quite a bit. And don't get me wrong, things have come in my way that way, but I actually have stopped and I haven't felt called to it. And I just trust myself. And I'm just like, I know my bigger vision. Like I know I want why I want to guide humans on this in this world and what there's certain things and desires I want in life. But I actually stopped consciously manifesting
That's
because
fascinating.
I don't know, I just stopped and I was like, well, I think maybe there's a part of me that just didn't want to be put in a box anymore with this list of
Mm.
manifestations. And then now when you said that, it was like, so thank you for that. Thank you for that just like blew me
Yeah.
out of the water for a minute. Wow.
Yes, of course. And I feel like that's like I have goosebumps all over right now thinking about it. That's what I love when I sit down with women in business. Like I have an interior designer client who is like an incredible person. She has her own shop, which is beautiful. And when we were doing our work together, and everything's all about getting any interference, removing any blocks, anything that's getting in her own way, emotionally, energetically, all of that. And then leaving space then for what's next? Like what's here to come? And she's like, you know what I would really love to do? I would really love to design homes with her ideas of intentional living, simplified living, like knowing how to make your bed, knowing how to set a table, and having this beautiful, clean, clear aesthetic that just resonates with people's souls. And as soon as she tells me that, part of what my coaching practice has become is the intuitive side of me being able to see the future for my clients and being able to resonate if that is a yes or a no. And it was like a holy, sacred yes. But I knew she was going to have to walk through some steps to get there. And I knew the journey was going to be a bit bumpy. And long story short, she not only is that happening, but she had to transform the way her business was, meaning she had to let some people go to make space for new people to come in. She had to go through some shifting of her financials. She had to go through a complete renovation of her relationship with her partner because that's where there was money being stuck and energetically tied together. But they just purchased a home to remodel to create this first prototype or spec home for what this vision could look like. And, she didn't have room for it before. She didn't have space for it until enough of the fear, the blocks, the worries, the disconnect from yourself was removed, where then the universe dropped that in for her in a way that wouldn't have come through any other portal, I believe. Like it's our resistance is there, to help us move past, to dissolve, to resolve, to move through, to create space for something new. And it's always knowing that the universe has all of your wishes and desires in mind and better, making space for the and more or and better is like mind blowing.
Yeah. Wow. And even though from the moment when you said it, like her vision, I was like, okay, tell me more. And
Mm-hmm.
the fact is, I've never met her. I've never met her. But again, that's like just like the energy of how someone's vision being told by a third party, energetically, it's a yes, energetically, this is what they're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, oh, I I don't know who she is, but I love that concept. Like my whole body was like, tell me.
Yeah.
I want to know. So
Yeah.
that is really cool. That I like experienced that on hand as you were explaining it, and that that like because there is so much energetically that happens behind the scenes that we're not aware of.
Yes. The whole universe is orchestrating in this very moment in your favor. And all it requires from you is a sacred yes to what's here for you, to you becoming available to it. I've even done this, like people probably think I'm a weirdo in my car, but sometimes when I'm working on things, and lately it's been coming to me over and over again with my clients that there's a sacred yes that's needing, okay, that's required here. You want to break into this next level of income? Give me a sacred yes, where it's like body, mind, soul, heart, energy, emotions, mentality, like physically. Do you have a sacred yes in you for that? And you can just feel there's something that is like birthing out of a client when that is here for them, that's available for them when they align with it. And in my car, when I found myself stuck, I will say out loud, universe, you have a sacred yes for me. Like, yes. The power of yes, it like flies over our heads here. It's like something right under our nose, but we haven't been told to align with a sacred, holy yes for ourselves, for our relationships, for our money, for our businesses, for our love. I mean, everything. in this world will come closer to you with your own sacred yes as an offering to that. So another whole new level of development, I feel like.
Yeah. And I love that. And thank you so much for sharing that. I think that is just super powerful. And I am sure the audience just loved this juicy episode that we just dove into. It was very deep on so many levels, but I truly enjoyed this conversation. And thank you so much for being here with me. And I want you to like tell the audience what you have going on. I am going to include information in the show notes with all of your links, but how can people find you? What do you got going on in your world? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we've got so much goodness happening right now. My husband and I have been recording the lessons, the daily lessons from A Course in Miracles. I've referred so many people to this book, given this book to people, and it sits on the shelf and collects dust because it's very deep, and a lot of people just don't get it until they're ready to get it. But one of the things we have found is if I can, we can share a lesson with them and then break it down of what it means for us and what it's done for us, then people can start absorbing the gold and the wisdom that is that lesson. So we have a program, an app called A Course in Miracles Simplified, where you get one daily lesson from the course, where I think we're on lesson 141 right now. So that's available. I have an evergreen program called the School of Self-Worth that I'm just recording a brand new one for right now that will be available for anyone to purchase. To me, I say it will help you arrive at the doorstep of your soul. And she's amazing and she's incredible. It's just all the big barriers need to be removed and gotten out of the way. So that's that. We also have a podcast we just started recording season 2 of called Modern Spiritual Power Couples, where we share our journey, our conversations, what works for us. We're going to start interviewing other couples now and hear what journeys work for them. And then my private one-on-one coaching, I adore. I live and breathe for these sessions with clients. So of course, that's always an option. I'm really close at this point to having a wait list, which I've never had before in my coaching business. So that feels really amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, I feel so proud of this work. And most of that, all of that can be found on my website, which is brendabrummond.com, Brenda, Brummond, Brummond.com. I have a free guide for everyone called Soul versus Ego, how to tell if it's the voice you're hearing inside you is the ego trying to trick you or your soul trying to guide you. So that's something soulvsego.com people can go to. And yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook a little bit. I'm not a huge social media fan, but you can find some of my stuff on there. And yeah, join my email list and see what I'm up to and what's going on.
I love that. Thank you so much. And for those who are listening while they're doing tasks or driving, you will find everything in the show notes. So you can go and so you don't have to worry about writing any of this down. And once again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the listeners and everybody. And that is it for this episode. And I will catch you next time.